Walk down London's Brick Lane, and you are immediately surrounded by what people commonly label Indian or Bengali cuisine. But these generic titles hide a highly specific origin. Between 90 and 95% of all British Bangladeshis trace their ancestry to one distinct region in the northeast, Sylhet. This is the homeland of a prolific seafaring diaspora, yet it sits over 300 miles from the nearest ocean. Instead, the terrain is defined by freshwater swamps, agrarian flatlands, and massive tea plantations. How a community separated from the coast by hundreds of miles of inland forest became a global maritime power is the region's central mystery. The answer lies in a transnational loop. Sylheti identity isn't a regional subset of a larger nation. It is a sovereign culture that the diaspora protects from thousands of miles away. For the Sylheti people, leaving their homeland provided the resources to preserve it. They leveraged their migration to establish a distinct cultural footprint that remains resistant to assimilation. This preservation efforts begin with Sylhet's status as the spiritual capital of Bangladesh. In 1303, the Sufi saint Hazrat Shah Jalal arrived here with 360 companions, establishing the region as a major center for Islamic scholarship. That spiritual independence is mirrored in the kitchen. Sylheti cuisine uses flavors that separate it from standard Bengali food, specifically the bitter rind of the native shotkora citrus and the pungent aroma of shotki, or dried fish. The most significant marker, however, is the language. Sylheti is a tonal language, where changes in pitch alter the meaning of a word, a characteristic entirely absent from standard Bengali. This diagram shows the typographic differences between the standard Bengali script and the region's own historical writing system, the Sylheti Nagri script. The existence of this ancient, independent text provides concrete evidence of a long-standing linguistic sovereignty. Despite this history, the language faces significant pressure. State institutions and social stigmas often frame Sylheti as a rural dialect, pushing younger generations to assimilate into standard Bengali to gain social status. Because Sylhet possessed its own spiritual hierarchy, knowledge, and cuisine long before the first migrants arrived in the UK, its culture was already equipped to survive in a foreign environment. To bypass their landlocked geography, early Sylhetis used the river network of the Sorma Valley. These waterways connected the inland villages directly to the major coastal shipping ports used by the British East India Company. At these ports, men from the interior were recruited as lascars, merchant seamen, to work the long-haul shipping routes of the British Empire. Recruitment followed a pattern known as chain migration. A crew leader, or sarong, would hire men exclusively from his own specific village, eventually transplanting entire micro-communities from the rural Sorma Valley to the streets of East London. This physical distance allowed the diaspora to develop a contested nationalism. Living outside of Bangladesh, they can resist a monolithic national identity in favor of their specific regional heritage. The UK diaspora uses their economic security to fund language schools and cultural projects that preserve the very Sylheti customs currently facing pressure back in the homeland. The diaspora did more than just export their culture. They built a fortress for it in Britain, shielding it from domestic forces of assimilation. Today, Sylhet is often called Second London. Culture and capital cycle between Britain and Bangladesh in a continuous, multi-generational loop. The massive influx of diaspora remittances physically reshapes the homeland. These funds modernize the city's infrastructure and build the critical schools and hospitals that sustain the local population. Diaspora capital also flows into historical preservation. Funds from the UK maintain the region's colonial-era architecture, such as this traditional baton-style house, which serves as a visible anchor for the community's heritage. The loop is also social. UK-born generations return to Sylhet, bringing progressive political ideas while simultaneously reviving ancient traditions like the Dhamail folk dances. This creates a deep dependency. The diaspora relies on the homeland for its cultural roots, while the homeland relies on the diaspora for the resources required to evolve. The Sylheti phenomenon demonstrates that geography is no longer the final word on cultural survival. By navigating the globe, this community ensured their homeland would remain standing.